Hello, I'm Geraint Bowen. I'm the Director of Music at Hereford Cathedral.
Hello, I'm Adrian Partington. I'm Director of Music at Gloucester Cathedral.
Hello, I'm Samuel Hudson, Director of Music at Worcester Cathedral, where we were due to be hosting the Three Choirs Festival this year, but of course, sadly, due to the current circumstances, we've had to postpone until 2021. I wonder how it feels, Adrian and Geraint, not to be staring at a Three Choirs Festival imminently this summer.
It's quite extraordinary. This would have been my 19th consecutive festival as Director of Music here. So, yeah, it's been a very different shape to the summer, certainly.
Yes, the summer won't be the same without the three choirs, or I have to say, the proms either. It's feeling very peculiar already, but I'm sure that Geraint will join me in saying that a small part of me has quite enjoyed not taking 2 rehearsals a week for 12 weeks, or whatever it is, because it gets rather tiring. But I'm going to miss the festival terribly.
Well, for me, having only experienced it once last year in Gloucester with you, Adrian, it felt like such an intense week. And of course, one thing I haven't yet experienced this year is the intensity of that rehearsal schedule, which was due to start, wasn't it, at the end of April, beginning of May? And now we're on the beginning of July, nearly the middle of July. So we would have nearly been at the end of that rehearsal schedule now, with only days to go until the start of the festival. Is there anything you were looking forward to particularly this year?
Yes, of course. One of the things I was looking forward to most was not a chorus thing. Am I allowed to say it? I was looking forward to The Great Journey by Colin Matthews, this sort of one-man chamber opera, really, which is an extraordinary piece. But of course, I was looking forward to my chorus concert as well. I'm very sad that I'm not going to be here you doing your Belshazzar's Feast debut, because it's a thrilling piece in any circumstances, and both Geraint and I have had the privilege of conducting it, and you know, that's possibly the biggest loss, but it'll happen next year, so worry not.
I was very much looking forward to that as well, of course. And I remember hearing it actually on the proms years ago now with Leonard Slatkin when he was at the helm of the BBC Symphony Orchestra. I don't think in my wildest dreams at that point I would have thought I'd be conducting it at the Three Choirs Festival, but I shall look forward to it at a future date.
It's thrilling. There is a performance of it in the virtual proms this year, which I chorus mastered from 2006, which is worth seeing because it's Bryn Terfel singing, and the late Richard Hickox, who of course was a tremendous friend of the Three Choirs Festival. Geraint and I knew him very, very well. There isn't really an equivalent frequent visitor conductor anymore, is there, Geraint? Richard was here.
We've been very privileged to have Sir Andrew Davis at the festival the last 2 or 3 times. Martin Babin, been great to have him as well.
But Richard seemed to be here almost every year. They are distinguished and very welcome occasional visitors. What have you missed particularly from this year's programme, Geraint?
Well, as always with Three Choirs, the mixture of familiar repertoire coming around and stuff which we've never come across before. It's always great fun to rehearse that, but also to experience it in the concerts themselves, either as a performer or indeed to be listening to it. So this year I was looking forward to your performance of Armstrong Gibbs's Odysseus, which I don't know at all. I was looking forward to exploring myself. Horatio Parker's Ora Novissima, first performed at the festival in 1899. Horatio Parker, an American composer who was hugely supported by Elgar at the time. As you say, I was looking forward very much to hearing Sam and Belshazzar. And of course, we had a commission. We had Gabriel Jackson's piece, which was going to be conducted by David Hill. So there was all sorts of stuff in the programme, old and new.
But most of that I think we will get the opportunity to experience next year, but this is entirely up to you, Sam. You're planning to retain most of this year's festival, aren't you?
Yes, I'm planning to revise it slightly, but to keep some of the general themes. Of course, we were hoping this year would be a suitable marking of the Mayflower's anniversary, but that we will have missed that by the time we get to next year. So I think there is some reshaping of the programme to be done, but it strikes me as being quite a unique opportunity actually to revisit the programme, having done and dusted it once already, and changing things around and seeing if we can tweak it at all, partly to make it relevant to whatever's going on next year, but also just to fine tune it a bit further.
Well, that's good to hear. Nobody will know the Armstrong Gibbs piece that Geraint kindly mentioned. I don't know if you've had a chance to read through it. The music is very good. The words are not of the quality of the music, if I may put it like that. It's jolly well worth doing. And I hope next year it will bring even more of people's attention to it, because it's just such an unusual thing to program. And that's what the Three Choirs is all about. And it's doing Dream of Grontius as often as possible and throwing in lots of new things when you can. What are your particular memories of your 19 festivals, Gerard, or even the several that you did as assistant before that?
Well, going back a long way to my time as assistant, I think one of the most overwhelming things, which I still remember very vividly today, was back in 1991, and being in the middle of the orchestra when we started rehearsing the Beethoven Missa Solemnis, and the sheer kind of visceral power of the Gloria, having never heard that live before, was something which I will never ever forget. Quite extraordinary. Then I think of my first festival as director here, 2003. Things, as we all know, don't always go according to plan. And I remember the Three Cathedral Choirs concert that year was going to be a performance including Bach's Magnificat, as indeed we were planning to do this year. And that was all fine. I'd rehearsed with the orchestra, Florilegium, in London the week before, and they were coming up on the day to rehearse, and it was an afternoon concert. And then we heard the rather worrying news that they'd been involved in a road traffic accident on the motorway on the way down. Now, thankfully, none of them had actually been hurt, but obviously it delayed proceedings considerably. And because, one, they were in a number of different cars, and two, they had their music with them, it meant that our rehearsal plans had to be recast on the spot. And I have clear memories of the choristers being walked on and off the stage several times when we realised another car had arrived, some more players had arrived, and another piece had arrived, so we could go and rehearse a bit more. And we gradually stitched the programme together. The audience were lining up outside very, very obligingly. It was a lovely day, not too hot, not raining. They didn't know the drama that was going on inside, and in the end we managed to get the programme started only about a quarter of an hour late. So it was an interesting day for all of us that day.
How did that performance go?
Sorry?
How did the performance go? Was it
great? Yeah. Yes, it had an extra edge to it, shall we say.
Of course. Well done for keeping the show on the road. My memories of the festival, of course, go back even further, because I was a chorister at Worcester. And my Worcester festival as a chorister was in 1969. And I remember it far more clearly than some of the festivals which I've experienced as a director of music here. Just childhood memories are very vivid. But I remember two or three things from that festival, which I will treasure my rest of my life. The second British performance of the Janacek Glagolitic Mass, with Brian Rannett playing the organ, and with Christopher Robinson conducting. Extraordinary to say, it had one performance in London. This is fresh from the Cambridge Music Guide to the Janacek Glagolitic Mass, so I know it's true. Jonathan Harvey, the late Jonathan Harvey, Ludus Amoris, which had a notated riot in the middle, which of course, as choristers, we thoroughly enjoyed. And the appearance at the festival of the fantastic Italian composer Luigi Dallapiccola. His music's not much played now, but I'm sure it'll come back. He was a very obliging, nice fellow. And I remember as choristers, we used to collect autographs, and we decided to have a competition to see which of us could collect Dallapiccola's autograph the most. So poor chap must have thought he'd reached pop stardom, because he was always surrounded by choristers getting his autograph. I only managed 3 times, but some people managed 5 or 6. I don't know whether he ever worked it out, but anyway, it was rather amusing.
Speaking of collecting autographs, it's not that tell me regularly about going to ask his music for his autograph. Probably a 1933 festival.
Yeah.
Amazing link with the past.
Extraordinary. And how many times do you think he got the autograph altogether? And has he flogged them yet?
I don't know. Good idea. Should check that.
Elgar's autographs fetch a few £100, I should think. So when I was at Worcester, actually, Sam, I ran the voluntary choir, of course. I don't know if the assistant still does. And the organizer, it was a fantastic chap called Derek Bollen, who died 10 years ago, something like that. And when he was a boy, one of his errands used to be to go to Ivor Atkins's house in College Yard, which is 2 or 3 doors up from where you now live, to tell them that the choir was ready. And quite often Elgar would be there having tea. So like Geraint, I've met one person who knew Elgar reasonably well.
Well, I think our music library in the cathedral is, in the song school, is named the Bollen Music Library.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Nice, I didn't know that. He's splendid. He was catering manager of the co-op. So he used to feed us buns. But that's enough of the past. What about the future? I mean, we've talked a bit about our hopes for next year, but are we confident in these rather gloomy times for musicians that the festival is going to be able to take place in the way that we hope it will, even next year? What is your current feelings?
So difficult questions, aren't they? And things are changing so fast, it's sometimes difficult to keep up. But my feeling is that things are on the optimistic side at the moment, in terms of perhaps not where we are right now, but on the general trajectory. So all we can do, I think, is take small steps when we're allowed to, and hope that we can get back to rehearsing a choir the size of the 3 Choirs Festival Chorus as soon as we can.
I wonder if there's any way of redesigning the chorus seating and the orchestra placing to give more space if it's necessary. Might mean removing a few pillars.
Well, indeed, yeah. I mean, that's one advantage of our cathedrals, is that they're not small spaces, are they? So you have a little bit of room to try and space people out and things. But July 2021 is a fair time away still, so I'm sure a lot will change. I think that's the one thing we can be sure of, is that a lot will change before then, whatever happens.
Yes, it certainly will. Change by next week probably as well.
I'm sure it will.
And then after what will be a wonderful debut festival for you next year, Geraint has another festival to mastermind. How many does that mean you will have now done, Geraint? What number is that you'll be doing in 2 years' time?
That would be my 20th.
But as home director, how many?
As home director, that would be my 3, 6, 9, 12, 7.
Fantastic. So presumably, you've mined all your favourite scores for the programmes of 7 festivals, and I certainly don't want to encourage you to reveal your secrets for 2022. But what is still in your bucket list of things that you want to conduct?
Well, we've always had a bit of a tradition of programming either less well-known works by well-known composers, which for one reason or another have fallen by the wayside to some extent. One example of that is Heisen's Die Jahreszeiten, the seasons, which is a wonderful piece, but nowhere near as well known as creation. Other pieces by composers just not known to mainstream audiences, like Sir George Dyson, whose Canterbury Pilgrims we did a few years back. Bliss's Morning Heroes was another piece which it was wonderful to revive. But I do have a few pieces like that on my list of things to do. And so, yeah, I'm not going to reveal any of them at the moment, but I haven't run out of ideas yet.
No, I'm sure you haven't.
I'm sure you haven't either.
Sam, you have the years stretching ahead of you. I'm coming towards the end of mine, but you've got so many opportunities now to plan what you want to do. What is your top 3 things now that you would wish to conduct? Gosh,
top 3. Well, of course, it's wonderful to do Elgar's music here in Worcester, particularly. So I'm looking forward to any opportunity to do his large-scale choral works. We were going to be doing the Music Makers at the opening of this year's festival. I dare say that may be one thing that definitely sticks in the postponed festival in 2021. And my favourites, there's quite a long list really. The Sea Symphony by Vaughan Williams is a piece that I've been longing to do for a long time, and we were going to be doing it with the Worcester Festival Chorus Society here in March until the lockdown happened just before our concert, so we had to cancel it. But I know that's a popular piece with audiences and singers, so I shall hope to do that at some point. And then things like, actually, I've always been quite interested to do things like the Bach B minor Mass and the Passions. I've never done them with a large chorus like this, so it might be interesting to experiment with that earlier repertoire as well, which I guess sometimes gets left out of our festival programs due to the variety of music from the Romantic era and later composers that is on offer to us that fits those forces so well.
Well, we have tended to program that sort of repertoire with the 3 cathedral choirs in the interest of authenticity, but I think it would be absolutely splendid if you did St. Matthew Passion in the Elgar Atkins version.
Yeah.
And you'd probably be able to find out what the orchestration was for those 3 choirs performances. It'll be written down somewhere, but I bet you'll find that there's trombones and clarinets in it. So we did something similar in Gloucester. Gerard conducted a fantastic performance of Mendelssohn's Israel in Egypt. It had all sorts of surprises, didn't it? And omissions. So I think there's a place for a revival of this Matthew Passion, arranged Elgar, or something like that.
That's like an excellent project for a future year.
My wishes are slightly bizarre, and I'm not certain they're ever going to come to fruition. But the number 1 piece I want to do at a 3 Class Festival is Psalm 47 by Florent Schmidt. If you've ever heard it, you'll know what I mean. It is simply thrilling. Have you actually ever heard it?
No.
It's written just before the First World War. It's just so exciting. But it requires a very big orchestra, and it's rather difficult, and it's in French, and English chorus is not very good at singing in French. And then I want to revive Jonathan Harvey's Ludus Amoris that I've already talked about, because it's only had 2 performances, and I think he was absolutely thrilling. And I'm pleased to say I've just got hold of a score. I was lucky enough to inherit Donald Hunt's music library, or as much of it as I wanted. It was a wonderful gesture on his part and part of his executors, but that was one of the pieces that I found. And then another thing which I should think will never happen, but I was so intrigued at the Gloucester Festival in 1913, Brewer conducted the last scene of Richard Strauss's opera Salome. It's almost unbelievable that it was done at the 3 choirs so soon after it was composed. but it has a tenuously biblical link. So the themes and chapters might allow me to do it, but again, I think it's rather expensive and certainly very difficult. And of course, at that point, nothing for the chorus.
Well, I
but
think,
you can wish, what's life without hope?
Well, quite. And I think even though we can't offer our audience a festival in 2020, it sounds like we have plenty up our sleeves between us to keep people flocking back in the future. And won't it be lovely to see people doing so very soon?
Excellent. Indeed. It's good to see you both.
You too. Have a good summer.
Looking forward to when we can meet in person in due course.
Indeed. Right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.